Our school committee is called to order. We'll be reconvening in our public session in a few minutes, but before we do, the school committee will convene in an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the school committee. The committee will reconvene in open session starting at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
Ms. Singer?
Yes.
Mrs. Zito? Mr. Tyler?
Yes.
Mr. Larson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy, yes. Mrs. Scales?
Yes.
Mrs. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Withers?
Yes.
Mr. Storrs?
Yes.
We'll be back at 7 p.m.
How much is it?
please rise and join the committee in the salute to the flag. Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd ask that you note that the meeting is being electronically recorded. We have a fairly light agenda tonight, public session at least, and we'll begin with our open forum. Is there anyone who would like to address the school committee as part of the open forum? Last chance. Okay, and that will close the open forum, and we will move on to our business agenda, which will start with a briefing by our Director of Special Education and Student Support Services, Dr. McSweeney. Dr. McSweeney, if you could join Mr. Sawyer. Mr. Sheen is out sick tonight, and we wish him a speedy recovery. So, the committee knows that last spring there were a number of programs that were moved from one building to another. And there was some discussion in this forum regarding those transitions. And at the time, the school committee asked if we could just be updated periodically as to how the implementation of those programs was going, and whether there were any unanticipated bumps in the road, and just generally sort of for information purposes to make sure that we were moving in the direction that we had anticipated when those decisions were made. So Dr. McSweeney has provided the committee with a very thorough overview of the department, and has made note where there are particular programs that either have been transitioned from one location to another, or are currently under review, and I know there are a few instances with that as well. And so I don't know, if Dr. McSweeney, if you maybe could just sort of introduce us to the topic and talk a little bit about, and by the way, this is your first time, I think, appearing before the committee in your new role, and so if you feel free to share any general thoughts as to how life has been in the first month as well. So, and thank you again for the information you've provided.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And everyone has a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I appreciate your this opportunity to come and speak with all of you. Again, as you well know, I'm new to this role, but have had the pleasure of being a principal here within the district, so have developed relationships with many of the staff that are working in the program. And I must say, at this short period of time that I've been here, I'm very excited about what I'm seeing. There is obviously within special education the need for always to assess and to look at changes based on student needs. There are several programs, and I was putting the report together. It's amazing how many programs we do have in the district. And what I was seeing are themes of a comprehensive look at not only the early learning centers, but all the way to the 12+ program. And if you go through the descriptions, you will see some of the language that is very similar going from the elementary to the middle to the high school. And I'm pleased to see that. I think it's important. I think it's thoughtful. It shows us that there is a comprehensive approach that has been developed. I still feel, though, just in this short period of time, that there is much work still to be done. Mm-hmm. And I still need to focus on that and to make sure that we really have what we need on behalf of our children. And the other piece that I'm really pleased about is the intention, and what I'm hearing is that teachers and administrators want to keep the students in the district. We think that that's very important. We think it's important that they're with their peers and that they are still part of their community. So as I went through and provided this summary, what I'm looking at are some of the demographics that I just want to highlight. There is a total of 21 programs right now in the district. We have approximately 1,013 students as of the end of October. However, that shifts and changes. We continually get updates on students that are coming into the program or exiting the program, so that number can be fluid as well. So we also have some of our students out of district, and their needs are such that that's appropriate for them. Also looking at program changes. When I was reviewing all of this, the program changes that went from 2013 to 2014 school year to our current year are within the elementary school. We had the Insights program move from Willett to Thatcher. We had in the middle school a student support classroom that was formerly the ABLE program moved from Brennan to Coelho. And in the high school, the 12-plus transition program moved to a different location in the high school. Now, I wanted to focus in on the middle school program right now. Since I've come on board, the middle school program has changed a little bit. When it was in Brennan, it was more of a substantially separate program. However, when they moved over, really felt that it was important to begin the year with students being included in the inclusion environment. With that said, the majority of those students did very, very well in that environment. However, we have a few that need more supports than can be offered at Coelho at this time. So we've looked at providing for these students a more sub-separate program that will, and is currently being developed at Wamsutta. And the reason for that was to move it from Coelho was clearly a space issue. It would have remained there if there was the possibility of doing that, but there wasn't. So we've been working diligently. I have to thank Dave as well as the superintendent in helping to support that initiative, but the needs were there, and special education is about providing what students need. So that's why you'll hear of a change happening right now.
So that's. Do you mind if I just interrupt with a quick question?
Sure.
So, the ABLE program, it was given a new name when it got to Coelho, correct?
The student support classroom.
Student support classroom, okay. And when we say that we've identified a need for the development of a substantially separate program that will be housed at Wamsutta, is that in development now, as in, is it up and running, or is that pending right now?
It's in development now.
Okay. So right now, those students are still at Coelho, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and this is sort of more a general question. We may have touched upon it in the spring, and I should also add that in a way that this tends to happen in our district from time to time, you have a lot of the work that I know your department is taking on right now are based on decisions that were made prior to your arrival in that department. And I think the entire school committee recognizes the challenge that represents. And the challenge is sort of exacerbated when you're asked to come discuss these issues at a televised meeting. And I recognize that it's not the most fair thing. Unfortunately, it's sort of just comes with the territory. And I appreciate your patience with us for that. Can you walk us through the rationale behind the decision to go from a substantially separate program to an inclusion program, and sort of what leads one to make that decision? What is
Yes.
sort of the educational rationale?
I just want to step back a
Sure.
moment. When we talked about the program at Wamsutta,
Mhm.
even though we are highlighting a majority of the students who will go from Coelho,
Mhm.
there may be others in the district that may also be appropriate for that program
Okay.
at the middle school level. So I just wanted to make
Sure.
that clear. But the rationale for going into an inclusion model is always the least restrictive environment is always where we want to see the students. And sometimes the opportunity for just a change from just June until September can be different for a child. There's some developmental growth that happens. Also, what you find in a new environment, the children will respond differently in a new environment. So there was this opportunity to include these children and to see if they could be successful. And as I said, we were very pleased that the majority of students are doing very, very well with the supports that were brought over from Brennan,
Mhm.
and just the development of other teachers and staff. It just seemed to work well. And so this is the goal. The goal is to include students with their peers, so.
Sure. And I don't mean in any way to express any degree of skepticism. I have no idea which is what would be better in the case of this individual program. I'm curious, sort of from a global perspective, is that the type of thing that you continue to monitor to determine after a certain period of time whether or not it is in fact a better approach?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Withers?
Is it going to present any logistical problems to have the few students that are moved from the inclusion class into their separate classroom at Wamsutta, and the other classroom be at Quilla? So it's two separate schools that they might be moving back and forth from?
There's a great deal of detail that has to happen with something like that. Also, it will be something that I've looked at very carefully with the help of others and administrators. Just logistics is, we had to identify the classroom, we're going to have to make sure the busing is in order, we're going to have to ensure that the supplies are there. What I've looked at is what we have available in district.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the physical structure, the physical setup, I think that we really have that well established right now. And again, this will have to be done in a team process. The children that will be moving to this more substantially separate classroom will be determined by the team, which will include the parents as well, which is a very important part of this. So, yeah. It's a lot of work to get it done and to do it well. And it does need to be monitored throughout.
Thank you.
Mr. Storrs, then Mrs. Scales.
What is the timeline that we're looking to move forward with this?
We are looking with the hope of training. We're looking at training as well that has to be considered in this. Within a few weeks, it should be up and running.
I just have a couple of questions. On your list underneath elementary, you only have the Insights program at Thatcher, but there is still one at Willett, correct?
There is one, I believe, yes. at
Okay,
Willett.
but that wasn't listed. Okay, just making sure.
Thank you,
And
Mrs.
on your, underneath the out-of-district numbers, does that number include the Journey Home children?
No.
It does not. Is that new? Did we used to include them, not include them, and then change? I don't know.
I probably don't know
I know,
that,
that's
other
okay.
than I was looking for the ones that were,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
The 46, though, does include the
Does-
journey home, correct?
No,
Does
Oh, it
not.
does not, okay.
it's not.
Okay.
I don't think we can say exactly what's happened in the past, but I know of no reason why they would ever have been included in our out-of-district number.
Okay. I thought at one point they started. Just a couple of questions about Insights.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly at Thatcher, but I think it applies to both. Are we up, as far as staffing goes, do we have all the teachers, the ABA therapists? I understand that one just resigned. BCBAs, paraprofessionals, are they all on board throughout?
We're still in the process of, there was postings that still needed to be done. They seem to be posted. That people are in various stages of the interview process. I'm aware of that.
So as far as teachers, we have all teachers? Each one has a teacher?
To my knowledge, we do, yes.
Okay. BCBA is,
There's still a need.
okay.
But we're completing the selection process.
We are
right?
completing
we're
the
almost there.
selection process.
Okay. Paraprofessionals at each program, all up to speed?
Still completing that selection process.
Okay. And then the ABA, is that new within? Okay. So that's gonna.
Last week.
Oh, last week. Okay. So, who's gonna be providing the training for the new people coming in then? For the,
We have district staff that we've identified
okay,
who are able to do that for us.
okay, for the new, okay.
For the-
People
yes.
coming in. And was there an increase in services at Thatch, was there an increase in, like, staff to provide the services, like OT and speech and everything at Thatcher when they came over?
That's a question that I may not have the
Okay, that's fine.
information for you.
Okay, all right.
But we're looking and assessing that now.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I'm good.
Mr. Todd?
Yes, Dr. McSweeney, first of all, thank you for providing this thorough report to us. And I, for one, am elated that you interviewed and got the job and accepted it. I think you're a great asset to this school community. The only thing I ask is that, while this thing is being constructed, is that we keep in mind that not just for special needs, but for all students, continuity means a lot. We don't want to be thinking that we have the answer over here, and then we have to switch schools over here, and then we have to go back. So I just respectfully ask you to do a deep thought process about this, to make sure that our students are getting what they're supposed to be getting out of it. And that's a continuity of going to a certain school, being in a classroom with students that they're used to, teachers that they're used to better value their education. So I just want you to keep that in the back of your head. I know you were left with this, it was on your lap, but again, I just want to make sure that this is really thought through, because all kids deserve that type of continuity in a classroom setting, so.
Mrs. Gels?
Sorry, and thank you, Mike, for bringing that up, only because in the past, that was the big problem before, but we've had a steady, as far as the programs staying at a particular school, so that's been really helpful for the parents and the children. My other question was about inclusion opportunities for the students, both, throughout the programs. Are they happening now for all the students in there?
It would be according to how well the students are able to move and the progress they're making. The goal is always the inclusion. And again, you will see that throughout with the written statements as well. But there are times when students can, or there are times when they're dysregulated and cannot. So we want to make it as successful as we can, with the goal of the more opportunities they have working with their peers and working with the general ed curriculum, the more we have found in research, and it is certainly well regarded, students will do better. They will achieve. The high expectations are there, they will achieve. But we want to make sure we're building in the supports when that's not where they're at the moment.
So the ones that are able to, who should be included at this point, are being included in everything, other things besides lunch and recess?
As far as I know,
Okay.
as far as I'm aware,
Okay.
yes.
Mrs. Storrs?
Regarding the 6 to 8 network program, I understand it's being reevaluated. Could you explain where we're at with that and what we may be looking at?
Right now, we're looking at that very carefully, and we're looking to, again, step back and take a more thoughtful approach to the program. And with that being said, I want to be careful with confidentiality pieces, but it needs more work. The program needs more work right now, and that's certainly something that I'm excited about devoting my time to, and making sure that we can develop something like that.
Mr. Withers?
More, kind of take it in a more general direction. Now that you've been in this position for a few months now, I think, right? It's November?
No.
1 month? Yeah, okay, that's right. 1 month now. If you could, I guess, let us know if you've encountered any, kind of bumps in the road, or notice any areas that you can tell somewhere we need to focus or work on, and anything that you think the school committee can help to provide and support going forward.
I think the important part is, and it's been touched upon, is making sure we have the staff in place. Making sure with the gap when I came on is there needs to be people hired and in place and ready to go. And so that's an important part. The other is the supports needed to really develop these programs well. And we want to make sure that we're giving students what they need. However, we want to make sure too that we're providing those inclusion opportunities and they're in and learning to be independent as well. So it's the related services that become more of the struggle. I think right now, as I go along and making sure that everyone has what they need according to their IEPs and so forth. And again, just making sure that we have staff on board, that we've allocated, we have a budget for. It's just making sure people are in place and doing their work and doing it every day and supporting the teachers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, so just to recap briefly, because again, the history of this issue in a variety of ways, including the school committee catching wind of changes that had taken place, all predate your taking on the position. And I'll talk about that in a second, but it seems as though we still have the finalization of some staffing issues at Thatcher that need to take place. We have the implementation of the program that is essentially opening at Wamsutta, and we have some work that is continuing to take place with regard to the network program for grades 6 through 8, which I believe is a new program.
Yes.
The district has only had that for a short period of time, correct?
Correct.
So those are sort of the areas that we can sort of acknowledge that need continued sort of examination or at least finalization from a staffing standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Is that a fair assessment? Okay, and then, so again, thank you again for the information. I would say that I think one of the concerns that we as a committee have, which again predate your appointment, has to do with sort of the process and the communication related to the process. And that's a conversation that I've had with the superintendent and that we'll sort of continue to have because the committee wants to support the work that the administration is doing. It's when the committee doesn't know about the work that the administration is doing that we have a hard time, it's hard for us to support it. And so I think that as decisions are made, particularly if it's going to have an impact or a perceived impact in any shape or form, we would just ask that the lines of communication remain open. So I think that's the last bit of advice, but thank you again for
You're
all the
welcome.
information. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
Dr. McSweeney. Okay, our next customer is our Director of Finance and Controller, Mr. Furtado, who will be joining us to discuss a recent visit by the Massachusetts School Building Authority, who we hope we're here with regard to the application that is still pending to our windows and HVAC system at the high school. So, Mr. Furtado?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a visit with 3 members of the MSBA. One person who had actually worked with us on the roofing project. Second person was just the team lead doing the site visits for all the schools that had put in applications. And the third person was kind of a surprise guest. He was the executive director of the MSBA. Kind of an unusual circumstance, but thrilled to have him here. They were assessing our need for a building envelope, which is the windows and the HVAC systems in the building. So that's about an $8 to $10 million undertaking. They gave us some metrics. They have about 108 applications for projects. They typically approve something in 15 to 20 of those applications. They have a $540 million budget to spend within those 15 to 20 applications. The key meetings for making a determination on the applications are in January and March. Their board meets every other month. And then they had about an hour tour of the facility. We had our maintenance staff and our facilities manager, as well as myself and the superintendent, go on that tour. So it was a grand tour of the grand building. And one of the things they commented on, a couple of things they commented on was first, the enthusiasm of the staff. They were very, very grateful to have the tradespeople there. They could get very specific on the issues. We did the same thing when they visited for the roofing project. So they were grateful for that. And secondly, the condition of the building. One of the key components of their evaluation is that they look very unfavorably on people who let buildings go in the hope of getting the money. That's not what they want to see. They want to see a district that's able to actually maintain buildings, which kind of assures them that their investment's going to be taken care of. So they were very impressed with the condition of the building from a custodial and maintenance perspective, very impressed with the projects that we've already undertaken for energy efficiency and some other things. So we're just kind of sitting and waiting at this point.
Okay, and just to backtrack really quickly in terms of the history, this is an application that the district has submitted to the MSBA at least 3 times, and perhaps
I did it.
so more
before.
than 3 times, I guess. And so I think one of the things that when it's been discussed in the past is the need to, and I should also say that we are all aware that there's a larger discussion related to the high school and the need for a significant work to take place and for a significant conversation to take place amongst the community with regard to the future of the various parts of the state. That being said, we have a major problem that's ongoing with regard to the windows and the HVAC system that frankly won't wait for that more significant conversation to unfold. And so in light of that, that is why the district has continued to pursue this project, unsuccessfully so far, but it sounds like there's at least they've taken note of our continued efforts, which I imagine has to be a good thing.
We felt very good about the visit. So again, we won't know more until January when they sit down. They're still conducting the site visits of the 108 applicants. So.
And I would say I'm not surprised that they're impressed with how it looks, because one of the things, as people sort of nibble around the edges of that bigger conversation in the community with regard to the building, one of the things that is consistently lost track of is the fact that so many parts of the building look as good as it does, and that is a testament to Mr. Parento and his staff and all the work that they do. So.
And we were also were also able to support some things they're hearing internally. You know,
Sure.
the team that worked on the roof, that project went very well. So
Right.
they're very enthusiastic about working with us again. So that visit kind of reinforced that perspective.
Hard to blame them. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Larson?
I know we have to go through this application process every year, and, you know, there's part that we do and there's part that city council gets involved in doing. So we're through all that
Yeah.
for the
The application's complete.
for
Yeah.
the January and the March timeframe in 2013.
January, March is when they're going to sit down, debrief the entire board on their site visits,
Right.
and then they have some sort of ranking system based on a whole bunch of variables, and kind of start making some choices as to who's going to get the money.
Okay, so from that application point of view, we're all squared away.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? And again, Mr. Furtado, if there's anything that we can do to support these efforts, either from a communication standpoint or however else, don't hesitate to let us know. Thank you very much. Okay, and our final regular business agenda item is just a quick update with regard to the Aspen X2 implementation. Mr. Sawyer will be walking us through. There is a document that's been circulated that gives a sense as to just the sort of universe of processes that have been put in place just since January. And I know there have been some members who have had questions with regard to where we are in terms of Aspen implementation. So, Mr. Sawyer, if you want to walk us through that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've been very busy with Aspen. Aspen is a very powerful tool, but it's a complicated tool, and it requires the development of its use, not just, you know, sort of plug-and-play capabilities. And since January, we have been really tackling some of the historic problems we've had with Aspen. I think we're making some real tremendous progress towards making better utilization of this program. Some of the highlights on the work that's been done in the last 10 months are listed on this paper. I won't, read it to you, but, we are improving our ability to communicate with families through Aspen. One of the first things that happens now when a family comes here is when we enter data in for a student. When we put the student email in, that night, without anybody doing anything, the student receives the login information from Aspen, inviting them to log in and change their password to become a user. Likewise, when we enter in parent information, we put in an email. Automatically that night, Aspen now emails the parent with their login information. So we've automated the process by which we bring students and families into the system. We're also expanding our ability to email both students and parents automatically through a notification system using Aspen. We've improved the security around Aspen. For a while, we were a little bit loose with what kind of access different people had and what kind of roles there were for security, and we've tightened that all up pretty considerably. We are beginning to bring more and more of the Human Resources Department into Aspen. A year ago, it was not integrated with Aspen, and most recently we have put the Employee Information System and the Attendance System both into Aspen. We brought the elementary schools into Aspen. They were largely left out of the initial implementation, and their schedules are in for the first time this year, and we will be reporting grades to the state at the end of this year, and that required a redo of the report card, which is a topic I'd like to bring before the committee very soon as an additional topic. We're beginning to use the workflow capabilities. Workflows, they're hard to describe, but they basically send information from one place to another place. So one thing that we used to do is, we every so many years, I think it's 2 years, we have to do ethics training as part of the state law, and all the employees in the district have to say that they received the training and then give their certificate that they took the test. Well, the collection of all that information used to be a tremendous amount of work, and now through Aspen, people can sign off that they received the information and send back what they need to through Aspen automatically, and has greatly reduced the amount of work that takes. Transportation is always a touchy subject, but I'm here to assure you that the information is now in place in Aspen, and the procedures are now in place so that Aspen can be part of the solution to our transportation problems. I think one of the most impressive things is the systems integration. Aspen now automatically every day talks to a whole set of other systems in place in the district. So every morning, Bloom sends a file. Well, I think they send it in the afternoon, but every morning the bus information is updated based on what's in their system, so that what's in our system matches what's in their system. SNAP is the nursing software. So what's in the nursing software is what shows up in Aspen. School Connects is obviously our notification system, and again, every day those two systems talk to each other so that they're accurate. ASOP is our new attendance program. They're talking every day. NutriKids is our food services program. They're talking every day. And Destiny is our new library software, and that's talking every day. So Aspen is integrating all these systems so that the information in one place, whatever's in Aspen, is now what's in any other system. So what shows in Aspen is what's most important, because that's the information that's being pushed out and shared with these other systems as well. And that integration is, again, something that we've accomplished of late. We've also, extended how we're using Aspen. Extended school year this summer used Aspen for the first time, and the Attleboro Community Academy is now in Aspen as of this fall.
When we say in Aspen, does that just mean the students who are enrolled in those programs, that it's reflected?
Well, we created it as its own school in Aspen,
Right.
and those students are students in that school.
Okay, as opposed to their names were just on a card somewhere?
Yes,
Okay,
an old-fashioned system.
understood. Mr. Furtado?
If I could just add to that, just because I was here when we did the transition. Under Rediker, which was the previous student database, we had 17,000 student records
Mhm.
in a school of 6,000. So, in terms of far better information and communication, when Dave is saying all these systems are talking, the master record is the Aspen record. So you don't have 7 Sally Smiths who live on Cherry Lane and Cherry LN and Cherry L, and you have one. And that the value to that is enormous, especially in terms of records, student records, and interchange between special education and regular education, school to school, school to outplacement, very, very valuable improvements.
Thank you.
Couple quick other things. Each school has a school page, which allows the administration to share information with their staff through Aspen. We've created over 30 reports in this time period. I'm sure we will create another 30 very soon, very soon as well. As we decide that there's a need for certain kinds of information. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of information in Aspen, and so if you can think of what you want it to look like, you can bring it all together and create a report that specifically addresses a need. The Department of OIT has been training both the clerks and the teachers and whatever users are needed, especially a lot with the building clerks. We've been doing a lot better, I think, in helping people to understand how to use the system in the way that we want it to. And finally, we're now under what's referred to as SIF, which is the Schools Interoperability Format. This means that now the Department of Education is able to take data directly from our computer system rather than there being specific data submissions. And that's been a process that we've been going through over the last year.
Great.
So that's all work that's been accomplished already. In the near future, we will be converting our special education software over to Aspen. We'll be doing curriculum mapping in Aspen. We're going to be targeting public engagement through Aspen.
And in every other way.
In every other way. And we'll also be continuing work on increasing our HR functions through Aspen and to improve our discipline procedures through Aspen.
Right. Questions or comments, Mrs. Storrs?
As far as the SIF, how is that controlled, or is there any limit on what information they have access to?
I do not know technically what the controls are, but it's not a free for all. I mean, they don't have access to the full range of all the data. They're going in at specific times for specific pieces of information. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
I would just say they access through student information numbers, not names, and the data retrieved is fundamental to whatever the specific report that they're mining for. So it's not going through an entire student data record and kind of looking around to see what's there. The data is in specific fields consistent with SIMS, and they can say, hey, we need 32, 27, and 14, and pick it up.
I mean, it's the same reports that we've been submitting for years. The difference is that before we would send it to them, and the process of sending it, you have to go through all these errors that are created by the process of putting it into a format that they can then receive. Now, the computers you take out the middleman, the computers are talking to themselves.
They just extract it.
Yes.
They extract what they need.
But as you can imagine, that's a technical feat, and it took a while to get
Sure.
that to work.
Yeah, we're starting at 17,000 records to just get down to 6, I think would be. Mr. Tyler?
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Sawyer, thank you. I mean, I'm a big fan of Aspen. I mean, it's a great tool to keep parents involved with the classroom setting. I think this committee was probably given a little bit of false information at first about how easy it was going to be to implement some of these platforms into there. But I think one question I would have to say to you, and I think I would know the answer, but would it be a fair statement to say we're never going to be able to fully realize the potential of Aspen unless we have the technology upgrades in the Attleboro public school system to make it work?
We will not be able to make full use of it until the end users have the best technology that they need, yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Mrs.
Brings
Gels?
it's very impressive what's happened since January, and it seems to really have made an impact throughout the district on all different levels, which is very impressive. So I'm happy to see all the work that's been happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's largely operational things, but the idea here is to build the structure in place that we can then, build off of that so that, it also has direct impact on teaching and learning, which in some places is already happening.
Right.
Yeah, but I think one of the points is that as things become more efficient, then everyone can spend less time on or people who are supposed to be focused on teaching and learning can focus on teaching and learning, and the people that are supposed to be focused on the operational end can probably get more done because it is more efficient. Any other questions or comments related, Mr. Storrs?
I see the projects that are in various stages. Beyond those, are there any future additional projects or hopeful projects that you guys are looking at?
I mean, we're always talking about, you know, the various things we could be doing. You know, like, there's a nursing module that could replace SNAP. I mean, that's something that's been talked about. Things like that. So there's always a conversation. I mean, how about this? There's years worth of work ahead of us that, you know, it's just really about prioritizing. So what's on this paper is really about what we think will get us the biggest bang for a buck at this point.
My understanding that the program is almost sort of a living, breathing entity, and that the upside of it is that as the technology improves, so can its capacity to support the district. That's a fair way of looking at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Mr. Larson.
Yeah, but just kind of building on that, but it also allows, I mean, over the summer, you know, working with Mr. Sawyer and the rest of the folks on the HRPP program, it was a great way of being able to communicate as adults within the district who aren't all together all the time. Because, you know, it also gives you that portal aspect that you could get a group of people together through Aspen. You know, we would meet physically together for a while, and then we would communicate through Aspen with each other, and then we'd get back together, and, you know, so it gave you that additional power to continue those conversations. So, I mean, there's a lot of different
There are a
aspects to
lot
the
of aspects
programs
to
that, you know, I think we're just scratching the surface to see the benefits of.
But it is refreshing to finally be in a place where we're making better use of it.
Absolutely.
For a number of years, it was a very superficial use.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, so that brings us to the end of our nuts and bolts agenda for the night. This has definitely been a nuts and bolts meeting, if there ever was one. I just have a few quick announcements before we go into the consent agenda. One, tonight the school committee has approved a collective bargaining agreement between the Teamsters Local Number 653 and the school committee. Those are the drivers employed by the Attleboro School District, and I will be signing that tonight on behalf of the committee. The strategic planning initiative that the school committee approved on October 6th, that is co-chaired by Mr. Sawyer and Mrs. Scales, have been meeting over the course of the last several weeks. I believe that Mr. Sawyer and Mrs. Scales will be in meetings every night this week, which I want to, on behalf of the committee, extend our gratitude to each of them and to all the volunteers, the parent community and staff volunteers who are working on that. I've been able to see some of the notes that are coming out of those meetings, and I'm very much looking forward to the ad hoc committee's briefing the full school committee, and I think that'll happen on December 8th. About some of the work that's going on there, because it's the turnout for volunteers was impressive, and not surprisingly the work that is being put together is impressive as well. And finally, I have my quarterly briefing before our friends on the municipal council tomorrow night. I want to let the committee know that joining me for that briefing will be Julie Little, our guidance department head at the high school, and Mr. Sawyer, who will be offering an abbreviated version of the MCAS presentation that was given to the school committee. I think that we saw the tremendous and steady progress that is reflected in that presentation, and I felt that since this particular scheduled briefing by myself is coming between situations that need to be addressed urgently, which I'm grateful for, that this was a good opportunity to sort of share that news in another platform and with municipal government as well. And Ms. Little will be discussing some of the work of the guidance department that she shared with the committee on October 6th as well. So those are just a few announcements for things that are coming up. And we'll move on to our consent agenda. A motion to accept a donation in the amount of $80 from New York Life to Peter Thatcher Elementary School Gifts donation line.
So moved.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. A motion to accept a donation in the amount of $18.92 from Coca-Cola Refreshments to the Hill Roberts Elementary School Gifts donation line.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Pursuant to Mass General Law 53A and a half, a motion to submit to the Attleboro Municipal Council a request for the acceptance of the following tangible property item from Deborah Cerrone, 1 Magnavox DVD/VCR MWD 22054, with an estimated value of $65 to Willett Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We thank Ms. Saron for that. Pursuant to Mass General Law 53A and a half, a motion to submit to the Attleboro Municipal Council a request for the acceptance of the following tangible property items, dictionaries for each third grade student in the Attleboro Public Schools from the Attleboro Elks with an estimated value of $300.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is just something the Elks have been doing for a number of years. It's very nice that they do it.
It is nice of the Elks, and we extend our gratitude to their entire membership. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have minutes from the following meetings: August 13th, 2014, August 18th, 2014, September 9th, 2014, September 22nd, 2014, October 2nd, 2014, October 6th, 2014, October 14th, 2014, and October 20th, 2014. We did have a couple of minor adjustments in the attendance for at least one of these meetings. Aside from that, I don't know of any other amendments or edits.
Motion to approve the minutes of all the meetings presented?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The upcoming subcommittee schedule, the Finance and Budget Subcommittee will meet tomorrow night in this room at
7 o'clock.
7 p.m. There will be strategic planning meetings as far as the eye can see. The Policy Subcommittee will meet on December 1st, and the Infrastructure and Facilities Committee Subcommittee will meet on December 3rd at Coelho Middle School. And those agendas will be posted accordingly. Mr. Tyler.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to take this time to wish a happy birthday to our fellow school committee members, Mr. Jim Stores.
Oh,
It's his birthday today.
There we go.
Birthday.
When we get into executive session, we'll sing. The Attleboro School Committee will convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental impact on the bargaining position of the school committee. The committee will not reconvene in open session tonight.
Second.
Ms. Singer.
yes.
Mrs. Zito. Mr. Tyler.
Yes.
Mr. Larson.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy, yes. Mrs. Scales.
Yes.
Mrs. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Withers.
Yes.
Mrs. Storrs.
Yes.
We'll take a 2-minute recess.
2 minutes, go.